My name is Rebecca. There I stood, watching through the cold window as my father, Richard, stumbled to his knees in the snow, his cries for help cutting through the howling wind. With a single, decisive pull, I drew the heavy curtains shut, sealing him out of the warmth and light he had so cruelly denied me. The room fell silent, save for the crackling fire and the scratching of a pen as Mr. Harris finalized the paperwork. It all started on that fateful Christmas Eve, when the temperature plunged to a bone-chilling 10 degrees Celsius. After my tech startup went belly up, I was left drowning in debt, my ego shattered. Financially desperate, I had no choice but to return to my childhood home, a place that had always made me feel small and insignificant. My father, Richard, was a man full of false bravado and an insatiable thirst for control. He had inherited a fortune from a distant relative, but he was too lazy and incompetent to build on it. Instead, he spent his days sipping expensive scotch and berating me for my failures. My stepmother, Linda, was a shallow and materialistic woman who only cared about her own comfort and luxury. And my stepsister, Chloe, was a spoiled brat who treated me like a servant in my own home. On that Christmas Eve, as we sat down to dinner, I made the mistake of commenting that the turkey was dry. Richard flew into a rage, shouting at me for being ungrateful and disrespectful. Before I could even defend myself, he grabbed my arm and dragged me to the front door, locking me out in the snow. Shivering uncontrollably, I watched through the window as they opened presents, their laughter and joy a sharp contrast to my own suffering. I felt like I didn't belong in that house anymore, like I was an outsider looking in. An hour later, a sleek black limousine pulled up in front of the house. Out stepped my billionaire grandmother, Eleanor. She was a force to be reckoned with, a woman who had built an empire from the ground up. Her silver hair was cut in a sharp bob, and her eyes were as cold as ice. She took one look at me shivering in the snow, then turned her gaze to the house and uttered a single word: demolish. Before I could process what was happening, the limousine doors flew open, and two men in tactical black suits emerged. They moved with the precision of a military team, walking across the frozen lawn and lifting me out of the snowdrift as if I were a precious cargo. I was carried into the back of the car, where the warmth and the smell of expensive leather enveloped me. Across from me sat Eleanor, looking every bit the powerful CEO she was. Without a word of sympathy, she tossed a heavy wool trench coat over me and said, "Put your arms through. Hypothermia is a lousy way to die, Rebecca." As I struggled to put on the coat, I looked out the window and saw Richard standing in the living room, raising a glass of wine. He looked so smug, so oblivious to the storm that was about to hit him. Eleanor dissected the situation with surgical precision. "He didn't lock you out because you were disrespectful. He locked you out because he felt small. You're just fuel for his ego," she said. With that, she pressed a button on the intercom and ordered the driver to cut the power to the house. I watched in stunned silence as the lights in the mansion flickered and died, the Christmas tree going dark. Eleanor then tapped the screen on the center console, and a live feed from the security cameras inside the house appeared. There was Linda, gesturing wildly and complaining about the inconvenience, and Chloe, opening the laptop that was supposed to be mine. Richard thought the darkness was just a power outage, but Eleanor corrected him. "He's about to learn that he doesn't even own the switch," she said. Then she picked up a sleek black phone and commanded, "Execute Phase 2. Enter the premises." When we entered the house, it was like a scene out of a nightmare. The backup generator had finally kicked in, bathing the room in a harsh yellow light. Richard, Linda, and Chloe froze in their tracks as they saw us. Richard tried to put on his charming facade, but Eleanor wasn't buying it. She stepped aside and revealed me standing in the hallway. Linda's face went pale, and Chloe tried to hide my laptop under a pillow. Richard tried to make excuses, but Eleanor wasn't interested. She introduced Mr. Harris, the family's lawyer, who presented the evidence of Richard's abuse and the falsified deed he thought he owned. It turned out that the estate, the land, and the entire family business had been placed in a blind trust 26 years ago to be transferred to the first female heir upon her 26th birthday. And that heir was me. Richard's world came crashing down as he realized he was nothing more than a squatter. He tried to plead with me, saying we were family, but I had finally had enough. I want them out now, and I want everything they own left behind, I said. Eleanor smiled proudly and ordered the security team to clear the building. Richard and the others were dragged out into the snow, their protests and cries fading into the wind. As Eleanor handed me a glass of wine and said, "Welcome home, Rebecca," I knew that I had finally broken free from the chains of my past. I was no longer the victim. I was the survivor, and this was my house now.